Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back in the video today. Today, we're going to be talking about why the Houston Rockets should sign small forward Cam Johnson of the Brooklyn Nets in free agency, or if they should. I mean, I think signing Cam Johnson would be a huge addition, and my opinion would be an amazing signing. But and this is what I'll say for all acquisitions for the Rockets. I'm going to say to the same for James Harden. I've all the players you've heard rumors about, whether it's Cam Johnson or it's Pascal Siakam or it's Trae Young or it's James Harden or it's Chris Middleton or it's Fred VanVleet. Some of these rumors we've heard the Rockets potentially being linked to, whether in free agency or during the trade market. I keep going back to it all depends on what happens Tuesday night. And that's why I say that. And it might sound weird, but if you look at it, some of the forwards the Rockets are interested in, Cam Johnson, for instance, the one we're talking about right now, Pascal Siakam, a couple of the forwards they're interested right there. If you get the first overall pick on Tuesday night, your interest for Siakam and Johnson are probably gone. I don't know about Johnson. Me personally, I don't think he would want to be the sixth man. He possibly would, but I don't. He did that in Phoenix, and then he got traded to Brooklyn for Kevin Durant, and then just started doing really good as a starting small forward. So I don't think that is something Cam Johnson would be interested in too. Now, let's say, and obviously, if you get the first overall pick and get Wembanyama, obviously you're out of the table of Pascal Siakam. Most likely, you're not going to trade for a guy at the power forward position when you have Jabari Smith, Wembanyama, and Sengun in the front court. So, yeah, that's unlikely. Cam Johnson, I would say it's unlikely if you get the first overall pick and we'll, go to draft Wembanyama. But I'm not going to say it's not possible just because Johnson's played that six-man role before with the Phoenix Suns. So I will say nothing, never say never with that Cam Johnson situation. Now, let's view it as the point guard part. Let's say the Rockets don't get the first overall pick. Let's say they get the second overall pick on Tuesday night. And, if they get the second overall pick, then they're going to draft Scoot Henderson. And if you draft Scoot Henderson, then they're in need of a forward. Then they're in need of a forward like Cam Johnson or Pascal Siakam. And if they get Wembanyama and get the first overall pick, then the Rockets are kind of looking for a guard, a shooting guard or a point guard or whatever. So I think once the Rockets know what draft pick they're selecting, and I'm not saying the Rockets can either get one or two because it's not guaranteed. The Rockets can fall all the way down to 6. I've seen some, I think there's like a simulator or something where you can see where, or something. There's like some app or simulator. I've seen the Rockets fall down to 6 on these simulators. Usually they're at 1, 2, or 3 in these simulators, but I've seen a couple where they fall down to 6, which is not good. But I personally do think that the Rockets should be either 1, 2, or 3, and if not, it is not going to be a good day for fellow Rockets fans. I know I will be very upset. Honestly, this is going to sound crazy, but I honestly would be more upset about getting the second overall pick than the third overall pick. Obviously, I'd rather the second overall pick than the third overall pick. But the gut punch, because you're down to 2. How amazing would it be to get a star talent like Wembanyama, and then you're 1 pick away from him? It would just be a punch in the heart for me personally, to be 1 pick away from that guy. And obviously, it'd be amazing staying at 2. But at 3, okay, you're not going to get Wembanyama. But obviously, you'd rather be at 2 than 3. But if the Rockets are at 2 and, they announce, because it's like, they don't announce the second overall pick. They announce the first. After they announce the third, they go from the third from the first, and then you find out who's picking second. But that would be, even though it would be amazing to have Scoot Henderson, that would be a heartbreak, being 1 away for Wembanyama. But anyways, I think once the Rockets know what draft pick they have and, kind of know, all right, we kind of know, we don't know who we're really taking I think for the Rockets, I think if they don't get one or two, I think it's up for grabs on who they're drafting at 3. Most likely Brandon Miller, but I mean, honestly, who knows? I think most likely Brandon Miller at 3 to come in as the small forward, but I think that's just a situation we'll have to see. But getting into Cam Johnson, if you get the second overall pick, and then with that second overall pick, you draft Scoot Henderson. He comes in to be the starting point guard for the Rockets. Jalen Green's the starting 2. Then the starting 3 is either Jabari, and then the starting 4 is most likely Jabari would be the 4, and you bring someone in for the 3, or that's where Jabari's either the 3 and Siakam's the 4, or Cam Johnson's the 3 and Jabari's the 4, and Şengün's the 5. Whatever you decide you have more interest in. I think the Rockets would be blessed to get Cam Johnson if they're in need of that small forward position. Because they might not, to be honest, they might not need that small forward position. You get the third overall pick, you have Brandon Miller coming in as the third, as that small forward. You get, let's say you get the second overall pick, or the first overall pick. You have Jabari at the 3, Wembanyama at the 4, and Şengün at the 5. So Cam, you don't really need Cam Johnson. But if you get number 2, and there goes Scoot at 1, and Jalen at 2, then that is your opening to sign Cam Johnson in free agency, put him at the 3, and put Jabari at the 4, and Alperen Şengün at the 5. And I think that would be a decent lineup for the Rockets, potentially. Now, the Rockets are not really adding in star power like they wanted to. They wanted to add in James. I guess this is just a scenario where the Rockets don't land James Harden. But if the Rockets miss out on Harden and I guess miss out on Siakam, then I think Cam Johnson would be a great addition. Let's go over some of the things I like with his game. He's a good scorer. A 40% three-point shooter, something the Rockets would need desperately. And that's what, I love most about adding him into the offense of the Rockets. A 40% three-point shooter. That is one of my main things right there is that I like about the Rockets potentially adding him in. It's a 40% three-point shooter. And the Rockets were one of the worst three-point shooting teams last season, and he would help a lot with three-point shooting. He's a good defensive player, 3-and-D guy, and I mean, I think he'd just be great. You might have to pay him a lot of money. I mean, maybe, throw on a number, maybe a 3 or 4 year deal, maybe 65 mil, 70 mil for 4 years, possibly. What is that? That's less than 20 a year. I believe that's like 16 million a year. I think that's like 16 and a half, 17 million a year. Yeah, I think 17 million a year for Cam Johnson, if not 18, would probably be the realistic option for, the money that Cam Johnson might be being paid. So maybe, okay, if he's getting paid 17, then maybe a 4-year or 18. 18 would be a 4-year, that would be a 4-year, 4-year, $72 million deal. Now that could be a little too much or it could be a little too low. I have no idea, but just thinking about it, I think 4 years, over $72 million would be possibly a decent signing for the Rockets. I don't think they're overspending. If anything, I think they're getting Cam Johnson for a good value at 4 years, $72 million, and I think. If the Rockets, if they land at 2, the second overall pick on, or less than that, like maybe like 4 or something, which God forbid, hope not, on Tuesday on the draft lottery, I think the Rockets, if they get 2, they're going to have a lot of interest in bringing in Cam Johnson. Scoot Henderson's a great playmaker, and Cam Johnson's a great catch and shoot player. And Scoot Henderson, if you draft him at 2, Cam Johnson would be a great catch and shooter for Scoot Henderson to throw the ball to. So would Jabari Smith. I think Scoot Henderson being on the floor for the Rockets, if they get the second overall pick, I think Scoot Henderson on the floor would make Jabari Smith a way better player than he already is, and possibly Jalen Green. I think he's going to make all the, Scoot Henderson's also a really solid shooter, but he's going to make the shooters around him better if he were to be on the Rockets. But that's it for the video. Hope you guys enjoy them or thoughts. Let me know if you think the Rockets should sign Cam Johnson. In my opinion, I think it all depends on what happens in the draft lottery. Obviously, these guys, you don't have to make a decision by the draft lottery. I mean, you have about another, you got longer than a month after the draft lottery until you got a couple weeks. You got like a month and a half until, or maybe a little less than a month and a half until free agency starts. So you got a lot of time to, think about what you want to do in free agency. So I think you got a lot of time. You got a lot of time to figure out what potentially to do in free agency. But, right now it's all speculations and rumors, but the Rockets are expected to pursue him in free agency. And I think it would be a decent move if the Rockets are not already filled up at that position, that forward position, in the starting lineup. That's it for the video. Hope you guys enjoy their thoughts, and peace out.